Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon everyone. Welcome to Afiq the Human Show. I will be serving as your moderator today. As we all know, this forum program will be talking about something very controversial. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Tan Sri Vimalatarshan. He is the Director of Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, also known as Suhakam. So how are you, Tan Sri?
I'm fine.
Okay, our next panelist is Yang Arif Dato Indra Mukri. He is the Chief Judge of Malaya High Court. So how are you, Yang Arif?
Alhamdulillah, fine, thank you.
And last but not least, our third panelist is Mr. Nakib. How are you, Nakib?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so the topic for our forum today is abolishment of capital punishment. Do you agree or against? So basically, capital punishment is a government-sanctioned practice whereby a person is put to death by the state as a punishment for a crime. Crimes that are punishable by death are known as capital crimes and vary depending on the jurisdiction, but commonly include serious offences such as murder, terrorism, treason, espionage, and genocide. In recent times, more and more countries have been abolishing the death penalty. Since World War II, there has been a trend towards abolishing the death penalty. 58 countries retain the death penalty in active use. 102 countries have abolished capital punishment altogether. 6 have done so for all offences except under special circumstances, and 32 more have abolished it in practice because they have not used it for at least 10 years and are believed to have a policy or established practice against carrying out execution. So what about Malaysia? On October 11, 2018, Malaysia's cabinet has agreed to abolish the death penalty and halt pending execution, a move that has been hailed by international human rights groups and foreign diplomats. Without wasting more time, I would like to start with our first panelist, so Tan Sri. My first question is, why are you supporting the abolishment of capital punishment? Can you explain a little bit detail about this matter?
Okay. Thanks for first and foremost. I would like to thank for inviting me for this show, and yeah, I will share my opinion in this topic regarding this topic. First and foremost, there is 3 important reasons for me to supporting abolishment of death penalty. First is abolishing death penalty is stated clearly in our manifesto, in the new cabinet's manifesto. So manifesto is a promise towards the people, and they should do that promise. If they fail to do that, the people will against them. Okay. Second, we come to the law side. Second, it's violating against human rights. As you said earlier, 102 countries have abolished death penalty, and only 58 countries are still practicing it, and we are one of the countries. And a lot of countries are against our decision by withstanding with death penalty. According to United Nations, we need to abolish death penalty. Yes, recently, as stated in ICCPR, which is International Covenant and Civil and Political Rights, everyone has right to live, and no one has right to take another person's life. This is the policy, and we need to follow it as a United Nations country. Okay. Next is, there is a possibility for miscarriage of justice, where innocent person might be death sentenced. For example, recently in Malaysia, Johor, a person is still in death sentence row because of a policeman threatened to beat his girlfriend and also broke the person's finger to make him sign the agreement and also the statement that he made the mistake. So this shows that there is misjustice in their procedure. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for sharing your opinion. I still have another question for you. So, what to do with all the murderers and killers in prison if there is no death sentence?
Okay, that's a good question. In my opinion, we can give them a good skills, teach them good skills in the jail, so that they can be a useful person. If they get a royal assent, they can come out from the life imprisonment and they can be a better person in life. And this is according to our principle of the rehabilitation. so they can rehabilitate and they can be a better person in their life. Yes.
So thank you, Tan Sri. So moving on to the next panelist, Yang Arif. I believe that you are against this matter since you are working in the law field. Can you please share your point of view with us?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Mr. Afiq, for inviting me to this show, and I'm glad to be here to share with you my point of view, as well as to have a good discussion with the panelists. So back to the topic, it is true that I'm fully against with the idea to abolish the death penalty in Malaysia. As we all know, Malaysia has been practicing this type of capital punishment for quite some time, and it is provenly effective. So, why suddenly the government wanted to abolish it? I agree that we have the new Malaysia as well as we have the new government, but that doesn't mean that we need to have the new law as well. So I think in the context of capital punishment, we need to revise back and have a proper discussion with the experts, with the legal experts, and as long as the law doesn't intervene the government policy, as long as the law is not biased, as long as the law does not affect the constitution, then we shall remain the law as usual. And in the context of capital punishment, from my legal eyes, I don't see any problem regarding this type of sanction, and therefore I against the abolishment of that penalty. You know, I've been working on legal field for more than 30 years, and for that period, I have handled so many cases, like one regarding the drug trafficking, and for sure the sanction will be leading to the death penalty. One point that I want to stress here is that Malaysian law actually should be tough on crime. Everyone agrees that crime is bad and we need to stop it. In United Nations 2018 report, Malaysia was ranked in the top 15 out of 118 countries in the world. And the general crime index in the country is relatively high at 64.15. So what does this say about our nation? With the escalating number of serious crime in the country, it is worrying if no significant measures are taken, and if Malaysia wanted to abolish the death penalty, I guess it will become more worse for the crime rate, since with the death penalty sanction also crime is still at a higher state. So now if you are talking about the criminal justice system, some might say that it is biased, some might say it is discriminate, or high people will enjoy high status or can overrule the law. But then for me, overall, to be said, the criminal justice system in Malaysia is actually fair enough. Well, might agree that law is man-made, so it might have some flaws. But then back to my point, nobody has been handed to the nobody has been handed to the death penalty without first undergoing a lengthy trial and in accordance with the law provided by the constitution. So with after evidence against offenders is beyond any reasonable doubt, then only the offenders will be sentenced to death. If they are there to commit such crime, then they should also be held responsible and made to face the law. So as for me, capital punishment is still needed in the society since it provides justice for the victims, and what's more important, it stops the serious crime by eliminating the ability to do so.
Wow, what a great explanation, Yang Arif. Before moving on to our third panelist, I would like to ask, so what is the solution for this issue? Can you please explain?
Sure. Well, if we're taking consider about the manifesto, and since the new government also want to abolish the death penalty, and it also for sure has created many arguments, the pros, the cons, and also the supporters and the against. I guess the best solution here is that we actually should not consider to abolish the death penalty, but then we should change it from mandatory death penalty to discretionary death penalty. You know, in Malaysia, there are currently 23 offences punishable by death in Malaysia, and out of which 11 are mandatory death penalty. The offence such as treason, murder, what else? Drug trafficking are considered to be serious and therefore should be stayed with the mandatory death penalty. But in some cases, for example, the discharge of a firearm, the offence may not have been carried out intentionally. So, if no hurt is caused, then there is no reason for death penalty. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you, Yang Arif. So let us not forget about our third panelist. So Mr. Naki, as a citizen, what do you think about the abolishment of capital punishment?
So, first of all, good afternoon to you, gentlemen, and thank you for the moderator for giving me this chance. So, as a normal citizen, as you call it, I think that compared to these guys, I'm just a low ranking. Is that what they say? But I think that's the reason because I'm relevant to this forum is because I have the best point of view. I'm not busy as you guys, and I read a lot from the medias and the social news and newspaper and all of that. So I know a lot of facts regarding to this matter. I'm very interested in this matter, and based on my reading so far, I've made up my mind very clear that death penalty is a barbaric law, and I think we should abolish it. So let's start the reasons why death penalty is bad for our country and all of us. So the first thing is it doesn't reduce crime rate. So as the pro death penalty is saying that this death penalty will scare the criminals so it would prevent them from doing this crime. But the facts from the Amnesty International, which is a non-governmental organization, they are saying that the abolishment of death penalty in Canada helped stabilize the crime rates. It reduced them. So since abolition the death penalty in 1976, Canada's murder rate has steadily declined, and it was one of the lowest in the world because of that. So evidence suggests death penalty abolishment will help stabilize the crime rates. And then the next one is it is inhuman. So as you all know that most of death penalty are executed by electric chair and hanging, and it will crush the victim's heart. I'm not saying that the bad guy probably doesn't deserve it and all, but it is inhuman. We doesn't have the right to take someone's life. And then lastly is this death penalty. Actually, it might surprise you that it costs a lot. It costs a lot more than keeping them alive in the prison, because of the trials and the equipment for death penalty is very, very expensive. So it would save our government money, tax money, if we just abolish this cruel death penalty. So that's all.
Based on your explanation, I think you are supporting the abolishment.
Yeah, obviously.
So here is another question for you. As a civilian, do you not feel afraid that there are killers still hovering around as they are not sentenced to death?
Yeah, of course I would be afraid if I face a serial killer in front of me. But then again, if the law system would let a criminals, a serial killer would free, and then what do you think that they are not perfect? So if they can let someone free, they can let someone who is convicted free, then they can execute someone who's innocent, a wrongful execution. So, and then the good alternative for this solution, so this problem is life without parole. So life without parole is when we sentence these criminals to live in prison for the rest of their life, and they will not see the sunlight again. This is a better option for me, I think, rather than death penalty, because it's more human, but it's still a severe punishment for the criminals, because they have to live the rest of their life in the prison. And I think it is a more painful way and longer instead of easy quick death. And then in Oregon, a state in America, there is 121 people who have received this sentence, and since then it's going very, very well. Not to mention, life without parole protects against wrongful execution, since the alleged criminals can be freed upon discovering the truth. And then, as I said before, the cost of the death penalty, life without parole, saved government money. Over 20 years, California state would save more than 2 billion if we actually sentence everyone on death on life sentence instead of death. Okay, so that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nakib. Since we have heard the opinion from all of our panelists, now let us continue this discussion with some questions sent by the audience throughout social media. So our first question is from @Tanokib for Mr. Nakib. So what if the murders were committed against your family members? Do you still want to think about humanity? So Mr. Nakib, can you please answer this?
That is a very good question. So, but however, this question has implied that they are saying that I should take revenge for something that occurred. So yeah, I don't blame the victims if they want to grieve over someone's and they want the criminals to receive the same way, the death, the painful way that the victims have received. However, if we do this, if we take revenge on these guys, this would not make us any better than them. And then, so I also have one question for you to think about, which is, if you're saying that what if we lost someone to this criminal, but what if we lost a family to this wrongful execution? So, as you all know, many innocent lives were taken because of death penalty, because of poor judgment and mistake from the judges and the law system. And then, this is a fact from United States. Since 1976, 138 innocent men and women have been released from death row, including some who came within minutes of execution. So these guys are the lucky one because they still managed to live. What about the unlucky ones? There are many cases like this, the one that are wrongful executed, and we cannot reverse this horrible decision. So, as a conclusion for me, nobody should suffer from the mistake of our poor justice system, and by abolishing death penalty, this terrible problem would cease to exist instantly.
So thank you, Mr. Nakib. I hope that Mr. Nakib already answered our audience question. So moving on to the second question. This is from @MQRISYHRN for Yang Arif. So the question is, if other countries can abolish the death penalty, why not our country?
Alright, thank you for the question. So he has asked whether we should abolish the death penalty just because other countries are abolishing it, right? So before that, after I heard some points from Nakib and also from Dato' Sri, I would like to say that all your points you are taking the statistic and fact from the other countries. Right now we are in the context of Malaysia. We have our own legal. So the death penalty should not be abolished wholly just because we are referring to the other countries. The nature and the society of crimes in each country are different. So I think we should just stay in the context of Malaysia, having the statistic, having the fact all from the Malaysia. Okay? And as well as I said earlier, we should not abolish the death penalty wholly, but then we should change it or amend the law. For example, should be reviewed rather than to abolish it. For like the Malaysian government should amend the Dangerous Drug Act or DDA 1952, where certain sections of this act are seen to be proof for any offence under the act lies on the accused. Like it should actually lie on the prosecution according to the general principle of the criminal law. So after all the points given, I hope the government considers all the facts and figures before making a decision. Like politicians, both in the government and also the against or the opposition, must discuss the issue fairly, thoroughly, and objectively in Parliament, and base their decision should actually not on political mileage or not to fulfill an electoral promise. But then, whatever the outcome, the final decision should be in the interest of the safety and security of the public and nation. So I think that's all for me.
Thank you, Yang Arif. So since we are running out of time, we're going to pick one last question. So here is a question for Tan Sri. It is from @alaf.co. Are you sure that all offenders will fully repent and not repeat the same mistake? So Tan Sri, can you answer the question?
First of all, if you don't give them a chance, then how would you know that they will repent or they will regret for doing that mistake? First, we need to see them after giving the chance. Sure, they will appreciate the government's decision to giving them a second chance to live in the public. So this will be a good reason for them to rehabilitate and then to repent from other mistakes. Yeah, and like what our CJ said just now, the cost of maintaining death sentence are lower. You said, is it? In my opinion, according to the yearly report of Penjara Kajang, maintaining death penalty criminals are much higher than the cost of other forms of punishment such as life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. So this shows that if we give life imprisonment also, it's cheaper than maintaining the death sentence criminals. So I think it's better for us to abolish this death sentence after discussing with the parliament members and also to the young di Pertuan Agong. That's all.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Tan Sri. I think we're getting to the end of the discussion. Before dropping the curtain, I would like to draw a conclusion on the topic that has been discussed. In conclusion, everything that is done has its advantages and disadvantages. Therefore, we should take the view of many people before deciding on a matter. So, I would like to thank the panelists for taking the time to discuss regarding this matter. And let's not forget the audience who have been with the Afiq the Human Show since the beginning of the forum. Hope to see you again another time to discuss about more issues. Thank you and have a pleasant day. Bye bye.